Imagine a woman whose life was marked by darkness, yet who became the first to witness the most miraculous event in history. Her name was Mary Magdalene, and her story has been whispered through the centuries. Often misunderstood, yet full of courage, devotion, and unwavering faith. Mary Magdalene's story begins in a world that often overlooked women, especially those who had known pain, suffering, or scandal. Yet in the eyes of God, Mary was far from forgotten. She was a woman who had been delivered from the shadows of her past, a life touched by brokenness, and given a chance to follow the one who changed everything. She was not royalty, nor a scholar, nor a person of fame. She was a woman, ordinary in human eyes, extraordinary in faith. Her early life, like many women of her time, was likely filled with hardship. We can only imagine the weight of societal judgment, the whispers, and the isolation she must have felt. But in the midst of these struggles, Mary's spirit remained intact. She was a woman who carried her pain silently. Yet when the opportunity came to encounter Jesus, she allowed herself to be fully transformed. The 7 demons that tormented her were no match for his love, his compassion, and his divine power. The Gospels tell us that Jesus healed her of 7 demons. What does that mean? Perhaps it was an illness. Perhaps it was emotional or spiritual torment. Whatever it was, it left her profoundly changed. From that moment on, Mary's life was intertwined with Jesus' ministry. She became a devoted follower, one of the women who traveled with him, supported his work, and witnessed his miracles. She watched him heal the sick, restore the blind, feed thousands, and speak truths that turned the world upside down. Yet Mary also experienced the pain of seeing him misunderstood, rejected, and eventually crucified. Picture her on that dark Friday, standing near the cross, grief and fear mingling in her heart. Many fled, but Mary stayed. She witnessed the unimaginable, the suffering of her teacher and friend, the man she had devoted her life to. Every lash, every cry, every moment of agony pierced her soul. When he died, she felt a sorrow deeper than any she had known. But her story does not end in despair. It is in the darkest moments that God often prepares the most profound revelations. Early on the first day of the week, Mary went to the tomb, carrying spices to honor Jesus' body. She expected death, closure, and end. What she encountered was life, a mystery she could hardly comprehend. The stone was rolled away, the tomb empty. Angels appeared, speaking words that would change history. He is not here. He is risen. Imagine the mix of shock, fear, and awe she must have felt. The world had not ended. It had been transformed. Then she saw him, Jesus, alive, standing before her. In that instant, Mary Magdalene became the first person to see the risen Christ. The Gospels record her reaction vividly. She clung to him, she spoke, she wept, she worshipped. And Jesus entrusted her with a message that would ripple through eternity. Go and tell the others. She was given the role of messenger, the bearer of the good news, the first apostle, though history has sometimes downplayed her significance. Was a woman who had known darkness and emerged into the light. Mary's story teaches us about redemption and purpose. She reminds us that no past is too broken to be used by God. Her courage in the face of fear, her devotion even when the future seemed uncertain, and her willingness to proclaim the resurrection all mark her as a model of faith. She demonstrates that God can use anyone, regardless of society's labels or limitations, to change the course of history. Think about her courage. She went to a tomb alone, not knowing what she would find. She approached the unknown with faith, and she became the first to witness the greatest miracle in history. In a time when women were often marginalized, God chose her to be the first messenger of his resurrection. That is no small thing. Her story speaks to anyone who has ever felt insignificant, overlooked, or unworthy. God's choice of Mary Magdalene reminds us that divine purpose is not bound by human expectation. Mary's devotion did not stop at witnessing the resurrection. She followed Jesus faithfully through his ministry, through his death, and into the dawn of his triumph over death. She exemplifies loyalty and perseverance. She shows us that faith is not just about the moments of joy, but about standing firm in the darkest hours, trusting that God's plan is greater than our understanding. Her encounter with the risen Christ also teaches about the power of testimony. Mary did not keep the miracle to herself. She ran to tell the disciples, to share what she had seen and heard. In doing so, she became the first evangelist of the resurrection, a crucial link in the story of salvation. Her story reminds us that the act of sharing our faith, however small it may seem, can have a profound impact on the world around us. Mary Magdalene is often misunderstood, sometimes misrepresented in history and culture, yet the essence of her story is unshakable. She is a witness to the transformative power of God, a woman whose life exemplifies courage, devotion, and unwavering faith. Her life challenges us to reconsider how we view ourselves and the roles we can play in God's plan. She demonstrates that true greatness is found not in titles or recognition, but in obedience, courage, and love. Imagine walking beside Mary as she followed Jesus, seeing the miracles, hearing the parables, feeling the tension in the air as religious leaders conspired against him. Imagine the heartbreak of the crucifixion and the astonishment of the empty tomb. Her journey was not easy, yet she persevered. Not for fame, not for reward, but out of love and faith. She became a pillar in the story of Christ's resurrection, a beacon for those seeking hope and redemption. Mary's story also resonates deeply with women across generations. She demonstrates that God calls us to courage, to action, to faith that moves beyond fear. She models that leadership can be quiet, powerful, and transformative. Her example encourages us to embrace our calling, whatever it may be, and to trust that God can use our lives in extraordinary ways. Even today, Mary Magdalene stands as a symbol of hope and transformation. She shows us that past struggles do not define us, that faith can flourish even in the midst of hardship, and that God's plan often works through the least expected people. Her life invites us to step forward, to witness, to proclaim, and to embody the love and hope of Christ in our own world. As we reflect on Mary Magdalene, consider how her story intersects with your own. Where might God be calling you to stand courageously, to witness boldly, and to act faithfully? How can your experiences, your past, your talents, and even your struggles be used to bear light into a world that desperately needs it? Mary Magdalene's life is a timeless reminder that God's power can transform anyone at any time for His glory. She was not just a follower, she was a witness, a messenger, and a leader. Her devotion and courage changed history. She invites us to embrace faith fully, to act boldly, and to trust that God's plans for us are far greater than we can imagine. In Mary Magdalene, we see that true faith transforms lives, defies expectations, and leaves a legacy that echoes through eternity. And let us not forget the quieter moments of her life, the times when she prayed alone, the moments. She reflected on what she had seen and the inner courage it took to continue following a path that was often misunderstood by society. These small, intimate moments revealed the depth of her character, her resilience, and her unwavering commitment to the one who called her. They remind us that true faith is cultivated in both the grand and the silent moments, in actions seen by all, and in prayers known only to God. Her story is more than history. It is an invitation. It calls each of us to step beyond fear, to embrace our purpose, and to trust that even in our darkest moments, God can bring forth light and hope. Mary Magdalene's life challenges us to reconsider what is possible when faith meets courage, when devotion meets action, and when love meets purpose.